Welcome to Dialogues from the President's Corner. I'm your host, Rosemary Plyman, alongside Dr. Lawrence Zarda. He is president of Greensboro College, of course. And today we're talking all about finances with the college's chief financial officer, Arnold Henning. He is joining us remotely because he actually most of the time works remotely. So this just makes sense. He is north of Chicago, but with us on Zoom. Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Glad to have you. Okay, let's start with Dr. Zarda because this concept of a fractional/remote CFO for a college might be new to some listeners. So what is that really? And why does it make sense for Greensboro College?
Rosemary, happy to. And it is fairly new, but it's becoming a growing trend, especially in the not-for-profit world. To put it in context, at any institution of higher education, including a small private college, there's those 5 or 6 key functional areas where someone has to be in charge. The chief officer for academics and fundraising and enrollment and so on. And of course, finance is one of the absolutely critical pieces at any college. And for many years, Greensboro College has had a small team responsible for our financial management. Until relatively recently, we had a kind of traditional vice president position, vice president, chief financial officer on campus, but also a director of finance and controller who managed the day-to-day operations, and then staff, accounts payable, payroll, HR, and so on. Earlier this year, Chris Elmore, who had been VP for 14 years, moved on in his career to take another opportunity, as did our director of finance. And again, they weren't fleeing the college. They had opportunities presented to themselves, which were great career moves. So knowing that there is this growing trend of what is called a fractional CFO, meaning we have a fraction of the CFO's time, I committed to moving to this model. So since June, Arnold has been our fractional CFO, where he works on long-term strategic projects, does not require somebody right down the hall from my office working 5 days a week, but rather based on his long experience and expertise, helping us at the level that we wouldn't have otherwise. And earlier on a podcast this summer, I also talked to Sheila Barber, who is our new director of finance and controller, who is indeed right down the hall from my office and is here 40 or more hours a week, taking care of all the daily business of the college. So that's the context in terms of what Arnold is working with Greensboro College on today.
So, Arnold, I know you've been doing this for more than 30 years. So tell us a little bit about yourself and why this was an opportunity that worked for you.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Well, let's see. Going back to college days, I went to 2 wonderful institutions of the University of Illinois at Urbana, where I received a bachelor's in accounting. And then I got my MBA from the University of Chicago, which was actually located within 10 minutes drive of my home, but yet it was a world apart from the community that I grew up in. But I used to go there during my undergrad days to find a library to study. And so I became comfortable with the school, at least with its geography. But it has a great reputation, and I was very fortunate to go there. Then after that, I worked in public accounting. It was my first position. I was an auditor, and so I understand the audit process very well. And then I worked in for-profit for some big companies as an analyst and a finance director. And then I had the opportunity during what I thought was a networking meeting where someone pitched the idea that I go into the nonprofit area as a chief financial officer. So that was my first sort of step down a different path, which then led to higher ed as a chief financial officer also. And I've enjoyed my work in both nonprofit and higher ed because I had a breadth of responsibilities as opposed to being a narrowly focused analyst for big for-profit companies. And I've loved working with people, mentoring staff, working on a variety of projects. I retired in 2016 and began doing interim work in 2018. And that interim work is what has sort of paved the way for me to be at Greensboro College, where I'm at today. And a fractional assignment is a little different. I've never done this before, but that's exactly what I was looking for. And the day before I heard about the Greensboro opportunity, I had let the organization that I worked with know that I only wanted to work remotely and part-time. So it was like Greensboro was the perfect match and so timely. It seemed like it was meant to be. So I'm just very happy that things worked out, and I'm working for the college now.
I just love to hear that. It sounds just serendipitous. It was perfect timing for sure. Tell us about kind of what your work at Greensboro College really centers around right now.
Well, Dr. Zarda laid out 3 top priorities back in June that are still my primary areas of focus right now. And that is the long-term cash flow projection, the audit, and the budget. And of course, thrown into that mix are whatever special projects hit his desk that he would like me to weigh in on. And in order to do this work, I'm really working through Sheila Barber, who Dr. Zard has already mentioned, our finance director and controller. I'm a resource for her. I'm a sounding board for her. She and I talk at a minimum once a week, and often more than that, just to go over what she's working on, what are some of her challenges, and I weigh in as to ways I think might be helpful to her to sort of solve a problem or attack a problem. And so that's kind of what I'm working on today.
Okay. How about Dr. Zarda and Arnold, both of you kind of weigh on this. Some of the challenges and opportunities that face Greensboro College and maybe other institutions of this size.
Yeah, Rosemary, let me start there first. These are very challenging days for small private colleges. There's plenty out there in the higher education world talking about that, but also in just popular media. And there's a number of reasons for that. Demographically, there are fewer and fewer traditional undergraduate age students available to go to colleges in the United States. We don't talk about it that much, but during the Great Recession of 2008 and 10, American birth rates fell to a historic low. And that some call it the demographic cliff. That's now getting to the college age now. That is not as distinct in the Southeast United States, but is very distinct in New England, the Midwest, and other parts of the country. In addition, there is very significant competition for those students. Right here in North Carolina and right here in Greensboro, we have a great advantage of having what might be argued as the best public system of higher education in the country. The UNC system plus the others are fantastic. In Greensboro proper, however, while it's wonderful that we are a higher education destination, we have 7 colleges and universities within the city limits of Greensboro, including 2 very well established public institutions, the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and the institution that I believe is probably the hottest in the country right now, and that's North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. So the competition is very, very high. For a small private college like Greensboro College, we are tuition driven. We are dependent upon the tuition fees, room and board of our student body. The pandemic hurt us. We had been very stable financially for a decade. And when the pandemic hit us in 2020, for obvious reasons, enrollment declined. Now we've been coming back. We've been coming back for consecutive years. But our challenge is to get all the way back to where we were before the pandemic in enrollment and really better than that. And so time is a bit of a crunch there as well. All of us face inflation. All of us also are dealing with a phenomenon that the job market around here is very hot. And high school graduates can get jobs making decent wages and think about whether or not they're wanting to go to college, which, of course, obviously is a challenge for folks like us.
Yeah, so that's a lot of challenges. Okay, so Arnold, I'm going to throw it to you to see where you see opportunities because you really look at this from an outsider's and can kind of give a fresh perspective and learning still about Greensboro and kind of the things that are happening within our state and in our city. But I imagine you probably see some opportunities there as well.
Well, the opportunities that I see, and I have seen this on other campuses that I have worked on. Enrollment is really the key driver to the revenue stream, and that is outside of my area. So, what can I do to support that work? And I have been involved with making joint presentations with the people in enrollment management and trying to help the campus understand the intersection between that work and finance. And so, the metrics, how does each additional student help us improve our bottom line? Budgeting is an important area here where that's a challenge. And it's a challenge at Greensboro because COVID took the campus away from its traditional budget process. And one of the ways we can handle whatever the finances that we have at that particular time are is to have a strong and strategically focused budget process. So one of the things I'm looking forward to next spring is getting back to that pre-COVID type budget planning where we have a collaborative process that involves leaders all across campus, where we ask ourselves those questions about how much do the various departments need to do their business? How does their work align with the strategic priorities of the campus? And how does that help us get to where we need to be? And so I think that's an important area where finance can contribute. We can't bring in the students. That's not our part, but we can help the campus better manage the resources that it does have based on the enrollment realities at that time. And what I find encouraging at Greensboro is listening to Randy Dawson, listening to Dr. Zarda, is that we are on the path of recovery in terms of enrollment. And we just had a report given last week to the finance committee that substantiates that. So what I'm going to be looking at is, are we going to continue on that path? It's very important that we do in order to get to those pre-COVID levels that will put us on the path to financial sustainability. But in the meantime, I'm going to do whatever I can to help the college reconnect, if you will, with the budget process it had previously. And if there's anything in my experience that can help tweak that process to make it better, I will certainly offer that up so that we can do it better, handle our resources as efficiently as possible. And hopefully that, along with continuing on the path of growing enrollment, will put us on the path to financial sustainability.
Yeah, anybody who's excited about a budget planning, I know that we have the right person in the seat to do that. That makes me smile. So thank you. All right. So I know, Arnold, you have had a chance to visit Greensboro. Tell us your impressions of not only the college, but the community.
Okay. Well, the college is very beautiful. People are very nice. And I had a nice tour. I went up and down a lot of steps. I even went by the video that you're in. But I was worn out. I got a lot of steps in that day. But the community is a unique community, and Dr. Zarda touched on it a little bit. So you're a college town, and there are a lot of institutions in town, not gigantic size institution, but smaller ones. But oftentimes you find these smaller private or state institutions out in the middle of nowhere. But Greensboro is kind of unique. It's a small community, but it's also a big community at the same time. You have an international airport. It's easy for people to get to you. So it's not like you're asking prospective students to come to somewhere that's out in the middle of nowhere, especially when you're trying to have an outreach to a diverse demographic where there still a lot of those students would not be comfortable out in the middle of nowhere. But they're in a city that has a diverse on campus and outside of campus, a community that I think they can feel comfortable in. So I find that, there's some advantages to Greensboro, but there's a lot of competition, as we just heard. And as you know, you're there. There are some choices that students can have. So, there's the question of, are we offering where our strengths lie to attract students to the campus? And can we do better at those things that'll make us the destination of choice to that declining universe of students that are out there today. But yeah, I found it to be a place with a lot of possibilities. And so part of my task is, again, to see what finance could do to help the college put its best foot forward.
Yeah, well, we certainly are doing that and love that you are part of the team to help make that happen. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us, and hope you're having nice weather in Chicago like we are here in Greensboro. And Dr. Zarda, of course, thank you too for stepping in around the corner. Thank all of you for watching and for listening. Be sure to subscribe to Greensboro College's Dialogues from the President's Corner wherever you watch or listen. Learn more about all the good things happening at the college by following us on social media at Greensboro College and online at greensboro.edu.